So, comrades, we're going to talk about Agent Krasnov. I've seen this popping up again and again, and it's a good opportunity for us to talk about how we interact with news sources and what we believe and why we dismiss some things and we listen to other authoritative sources. So the idea here is that Trump has been compromised by the KGB, and then he's an agent working for them, and that's why he's doing all the things he's doing. Not that he's just doing all the things he's doing because he's Trump and he's narcissistic and has no real plan and is kind of pragmatic and lurching from thing to thing because that's who he is. Okay, so Krasnov. Okay, look, how do we get there? First, let me show you this. Holy cow. Elon Musk's Grok AI literally thinks that Trump is a Russian agent. Quote, I estimate a 75 to 85% likelihood that Trump is a Putin-compromised agent leaning toward the higher end due to the consistency of his behavior and the depth of his historical ties. That's according to Grok. So that was after the question posed to it. What is the likelihood from 1 to 100 that Trump is a Putin-compromised agent? Use all publicly available information. That in and of itself doesn't really get us there, right? So if you're trying to, like, when I show you AI, usually I show it to you for a shorthand to kind of generate a list, and then if it sounds like it's connected to things, fine. This is not one of those cases where I would say, yeah, you can say, because the type of claim that you're going to be making, I want to take that off because that's annoying. The type of claim that you're going to be making when you're dealing with something like this is pretty profound, that a U.S. president is a Manchurian candidate or somebody working for the Russians. Okay, so here we have this. This is in a Polish paper, Trump, KGB. And if you look at it, I don't read Polish, so I have to actually translate it. But a U.S. president had contacts with the Soviets in the 1970s and 80s. American President Donald Trump was a valuable asset to Russian intelligence services for 40 years. This is the thesis put forward in the book by American Compromat by journalist Craig Unger. Okay, so maybe the journalist has some kind of perspective that he's trying to push forward or something along those lines, but that doesn't mean that when you look at this, it's not the Poles that had the issue here. This is saying according to Poland, but according to a Polish paper that is talking about the American book Compromat. So if you look at the book Compromat, Unger, it's coming from this particular book, by Craig Unger, and that's really the problem here, that it's like doing that. So it's this book here. So, okay, so let's go on to the next thing, the PP tape. I can't even believe that I'm recording a video where I'm saying that, but the PP tape explained, and this was in 2018. It's not recent, so this was during the first administration. And there's this allegation that Trump went to Moscow and he was engaged with prostitutes who were yeah, they were doing some, I don't even know how I can say this with yeah. So, okay. But at any rate, so I was talking to Constantine the other day and we came to the same conclusion. Like, if Trump was involved with these prostitutes doing this thing, do you think does he embarrass easily? Like, is that something, so they have this compromat on him that like they're going to expose him to the world to show that I think the guy has already done so many things that nobody really is going to be surprised by whatever, and it's not something that they could really hang over his head. But that's not my point. My point is this. So Vox put this: the biggest reason to doubt the claim is, well, its total lack of evidence or even firsthand testimony. And this is what we want to do. We want to look at what sources are coming from where and why we should believe the particular sources. And is a Steele dossier, is it really credible? And again, there's a big split between Democrats and Republicans, but even Steele's not standing by some of the things in the Steele dossier. The article goes on, and Vox is not really a conservative news source either. So, and not a more liberal news source talking about something like this is I'm factoring in as well. There's a broader issue too. Even though we've learned about a lot about the Trump team and Russia in recent months, the vast bulk of the Steele dossier's specific claims remain unverified and uncorroborated. And that's what we want to do. We don't want to just build fanciful theories or say, hey, I saw this online, he's Krasnov, and then you're perpetuating the thing that is going to like spread more lies. We don't need more lies. We need more truth, and trying to figure out what is true and why he does what he does. That's a more useful use of our time. Okay. Let's see, where was I? Steele claimed that there was a years-long intelligence exchange between Trump and Russian authorities, that the Trump campaign made a deal with the Russian government over the DNC email leak. Okay. And again, even that, depending on where you stand. So Miles' law is where you stand depends on where you sit. If you're a Democrat looking at him back in 15 or 14, I guess it was, when he's running and it says, "Hey, Russia, if you're listening, find that information," you think, wait, he's cooperating with the Russians about this. And if you're a Republican, they generally laughed at it and went, ha, 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 ha. Yeah, go find that dirt on Hillary. You know it's out there, right? Okay, so at any rate, let me keep going. Trump's advisor, Carter Page, dictated the timing of the link that the Trump lawyer, Michael Cohen, had paid off the Russian hackers. Like, where's the evidence of these things? None of these claims have been shown to be true. And obviously, the claims about sexual compromise have remained unverified as well. But I think that even the stronger cases, like, do you really think that Trump is going to be the kind of person that is going to even care about that? Like, he's going to have 4 Russian prostitutes in a hotel room. Like, he'll be like weirdly proud of that. Okay, so that brings me to this. This is Truth or Fake by France 24 English. And let's hear what they have to say about this kind of thing.
It's time now for Truth or Fake. Truth or Fake. Catalina Marchand-Debreu by the big board. Good evening to you, Catalina. The question tonight is, who is Agent Krasnov? There are some who say it's Donald Trump. Catalina, tell us more. Truth or fake?
Well, Mark, this is a rumor, conspiracy theory, whatever you want to call it, that has been going around for a while now. But more recently, it's taking on new life on February 20th, when Alner Musayev, who is a former Soviet security official in the KGB, claimed here on Facebook that President Donald Trump was recruited by the KGB, the Russian intelligence agency, in 1987, and apparently Donald Trump was assigned the code name Krasnov, as you just mentioned. He says it was in this year that his department, in the 6th department of the KGB of the USSR in Moscow, that they recruited the 40-year-old businessman from the USA. Musayev continues to say that the most important role of his department was the recruitment of businessmen from capitalist countries.
Okay, so this sounds like pretty terrible news, that it's like, wow, see, somebody's coming out and calling the whistleblower. But they do a good job of actually unpacking everything here so that you can understand what is true, what's not true, and doing some fact checking.
So following this publication, these claims spread like wildfire on social media, TikTok, X, you name it. There's even this thread on X purporting to show evidence to support these claims that's already been viewed over 10 million times on X. Claims further amplified.
Yeah. So truth spreads faster, 6 times fast. Or sorry, lies spread 6 times faster. This is according to an academic study on Twitter than the truth does. Like, that's pretty crazy. And I'm not making that up.
By this article published by The Daily Beast, published and later removed, all dissecting these claims that Donald Trump was allegedly a former Russian spy that went.
It was published and then removed because they were like, you know what? If we don't have our facts straight, we better remove it. As left-leaning as The Daily Beast is, as much as they want to believe that that's true, if they removed it for a reason, because they're like, I don't really have it together.
By the code name Krasnov.
Agent Krasnov, Donald Trump or not? That is the question. Dissecting these claims then for us, what have you discovered?
Well, Mark, our fact-checking colleagues at Snoped looked into these particular claims. They found that these allegations don't actually line up with official records. While it is true that Donald Trump did visit Moscow in 1987, reportedly to look at possible locations for luxury hotels. However, Snoped found several Russian-language websites that they claim are of unknown trustworthiness, with biographies of Musayev, where we find discrepancies in his claims that we saw on Facebook. Musayev, on his claims, says that he worked in the 6th Directorate of the KGB in 1987, However, both of these online biographies place him in the KGB from the years 1979 and 1986 when he moved to the Soviet Union's Ministry of Internal Affairs. Moreover, following this Facebook post, one of the historians that worked on his biography further calls these claims a global circus. He says that the 6th Directorate, where Musayev used to work in the KGB, was not actually involved in recruiting foreign citizens. Other sources confirm the same information in this book. For example, the Central Intelligence Agency explains that the 6th Directorate of the KGB was actually responsible for enforcing financial and trade laws, as well as guarding against economic espionage, while the 1st Directorate of the KGB branch was the one that's responsible for recruiting foreign assets, such as would be Donald Trump.
Okay, remember, we're trying to, this whole Krasnov thing, we're acting as if the words of a KGB agent are true. Stop and hear yourself, hear what I just said. We're believing the words of a KGB agent. Now, that should make us pause. And then, wouldn't the KGB agent be happy to see just discord, just throw stuff out there and see that, and we, if we're perpetuating it, are part of that problem in creating more lies or spreading more lies. So we got to be careful. And again, where can we hang our hat? And that's where we should be focused on, what sources, is it a legitimate news source that everybody knows and trusts because they show you their sources and they're credible historically over time.
And given, as you pointed out, this whole thing takes a whole different life, the way that Trump is acting right now. He's lining up with Vladimir Putin's view on Ukraine. The fact that there are some people within his new administration have clear leanings and sympathy.
And that's true. But as we know, so that's true. And that's lending credibility. But you also see things like this. Zelensky, before he became a CIA plant for the regime change in Ukraine. Okay, so are you really saying that Zelensky works for the Americans, which is for Trump? Zelensky works for Trump, who works for Putin. So Putin is bombing Ukraine because Zelensky. It hurts my head even trying to think through that. So when it's all said and done, I think this is good wisdom here. Don't believe everything you read on the internet, said Abraham Lincoln. And that's just to prove the concept that, you have to take things with a grain of salt. So Agent Krasnov, is it Trump? Probably not. If real evidence comes out, I'm happy to go look at it and let's look at the evidence. But at least at this point, it doesn't look like that's the thing. All right. Tell me what you thought about this, and more to the point, how do we keep ourselves from listening to and believing false information and then running with it? That's what we got to be careful about, because we need more truth, not more lies. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.